Hello everyone and welcome to episode 3 of Let's Play Manos, The Hands of Fate. This is a different level. This presents a entirely different style of play here where we're flying a plane. Almost like a vehicle section or something, like a side-scrolling shooter type thing. Actually, it's kind of cool. I appreciate this kind of variety in games. I mean, obviously, before this we had the standard side-scrolling level and the one where the screen automatically scrolls, so that's a little bit of variety, and we'll get a little bit more before the game ends. Don't miss that Hand of Fate there. It can be pretty easy to miss. Those skulls are easy to dodge. But I really like... Oh, hey, it's Torgo again, with its haunting Torgo theme. Torgo is probably by far the most interesting part of the movie itself, and the performance is really, really strange. And it's... Oh, hey, the giant claw is back. The performance that Torgo puts forward is really, really strange in the film, because... Apparently, because he suffered from severe depression, the actor who plays Torgo self-medicated. And I think I'm about to beat him here. Yep, beat him. Which means we're probably going to be doing some dialogue here in a second. Or not. Anyway, the actor who played him self-medicated, which means while he was on the set of the movie itself, he was pretty much constantly high on some kind of drug. One of the running theories from the other actors in the film was that he was on LSD all the time. Don't do this, kids. Don't self-medicate yourself. If you suffer from severe depression, please get yourself proper help, because it'll be far better than anything you or your friends can possibly do to help you with suffering from that kind of depression. Trust me on that. If I remember right, this is the level where I really show just how bad I am at this game. Anyway, Torgo was originally intended to be a satire, and I'm going to guess that because of budget restraints, they could not get a proper satire costume. I'm guessing that they were working on it, and that the prosthetics for the big knees that Torgo wears in the film, the actor who plays Torgo wears in the film as part of his character, was actually part of that. I'm not entirely sure about that. I just know he had some kind of prosthetic on his knees that made it difficult for him to... Yeah, this is where I die over and over again. It made it difficult for him to walk. So that, plus being high all the time, lent to the very strange and very awkward performance that really makes the Torgo character by far the most memorable thing about the film. And apparently he was not putting on the prosthetics for the big knees correctly, and it ultimately caused him to have knee problems during the filming of the movie. And some suggest that he was taking painkillers to deal with the pain of the knee problems that the prosthetics were causing him, and I don't know if that's true or not. I just know that it really kind of... It all combined to create a unique and standout performance in an otherwise extremely boring film. I don't know if it's a good performance, but it's certainly a memorable one. You have to give it that much. And like I said, he's by far the most fascinating part of the film. I think I'm running out of film trivia to talk about over the course of this Let's Play, and we've still got a long way to go in this particular episode. I wish I remember, like, Oh, I was going to talk about the darkness in these night levels, in this cave level here, is actually taken directly from the look of the film. Because, as I mentioned in the previous episode, they didn't have proper lighting, so they would film at night, and the only lighting that they would have for this and their shitty little handheld camera was a bunch of headlights. Well, headlights can only do so much, especially older headlights like that, because they weren't as bright back then as they are today. Especially, I mean, even when you had the brightness on, they probably weren't as bright back then as they are today. But that's all they had. The end result was that, for the most part, you could see whatever object the camera was focusing on and little else outside of that. And it really kind of does this whole, you can see in the center of the screen and not much else, like the game does here. So that's what this game is mimicking, is that part of the look of the film. And the film grain effect, which you can turn off, as I mentioned at the beginning of the game, is also mimicking it, because the press of it that people are so familiar with nowadays has just tons of film grain in it, and the quality of it overall is just extremely poor. The best looking shot in the film, as I previously mentioned, is a shot where Mike fires at a snake that he sees, and the snake itself is actually stock footage of a snake, and it looks far better than anything else in the film because it's stock footage and not shot with their camera and their poor lighting. The various actors had all kinds of concerns about the film while they were filming. They would question things like, why are we using a clapper on this film when it's silent? How are we going to get our voices in the film when the camera's silent? Well, none of them ultimately did, except there were 3 people that got their voices in the film. Those same three people did all the voices in the film. So when you hear Debbie in the film, the little girl, and it sounds like an adult imitating a child, that's because it literally is an adult imitating the child. You can kill those bubbles, by the way. The ones that go up, you get points for it, but it's easier to just dodge them. They're hard to hit, but it's possible. I think you get 300 points for them. And I would have gotten a game over a long time ago if it wasn't for that one up there. And every single time that the cast and crew would come to him with concerns about this movie and how this is going to turn out, he would just reassure them that everything that was wrong with the film, and there was plenty wrong with the film just during the filming process, could be fixed in post-production. And then he didn't let anybody else take part in post-production apart from other people doing voiceovers, dubbing their voice over the silent film. And you can tell that he doesn't know anything about pacing or editing or anything like that would all be at least partly done with post-production, because the pacing is just awful and it makes it dreadfully slow, because there will be just shots of people just standing there staring and like mugging for the camera for like 5-10 seconds at a time, and they cut some of that out in the Mystery Science Theater version. They cut out some of the worst parts of the film, and it's still virtually unwatchable. And I already talked about how the cast and crew snuck out of the theater because they were embarrassed and didn't want to have to deal with the media and whatnot after this film was done. And I don't blame them for that. I would have been embarrassed by this film too. I mean, I would have seen the final product and been like, you're kidding me, right? Although, in a way, I kind of admire it, because Harold B. Warren said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make a horror film. And that, even with him not having any clue what he's doing, he did successfully make a horror film. It's a terrible, it's like one of the worst films ever made, if not the worst film ever made, but he did make a horror film. So that's kind of admirable in a way, especially if you've ever actually sat down and done serious heavy video editing. Like when I did my top 10 videos of the top 10 video games of the 7th generation, hey, I finally got past it. That was so much work. I probably put a good 24 hours of work into that one single video, and it's by far the most complex project that I have personally ever worked on. I can tell just by the timeline looking at this. When I die, I'm watching the footage while I talk. And you know that a hell of a lot of work goes into it. Filming and editing and getting it all done, especially when you're the one who's the writer and director and producer and all that kind of thing. And the editor, when you're the one doing the vast majority of the work, or all of the work in my case, it's difficult, man. It is not an easy task to even do the kind of things that I do. Like, I'll put probably a good 10 hours into one single video for a album review, for example. Like my last album review, which was about 10 minutes long, it was a review of the album The Nightcomers by the new wave of British heavy metal band Holocaust. That was probably 10 hours total of work or something for 10 minutes of footage. That's the kind of hours that you put into just making a video, and that isn't even that complex in comparison to some of the things that other YouTubers do, such as The Completionist or Spoonie, who will have all these different characters that he has to dress up as and film in different rooms and set up lighting in different places and all kinds of things just to get jokes. Like if he wants to cut from him to Dr. Insano, he has to switch rooms, switch costumes, move all the lighting, set up the shots and everything just to be able to record as Dr. Insano. It's a lot of work, man. So just the fact that he was able to do it, I admire that. I get the feeling that this cave level here is probably based on Bronson Cave, which does not appear in this movie. I believe this movie was filmed entirely in, I want to say, El Paso. I know it was in Texas. Yay, Texas, because that's my home. But I think it was El Paso. But Bronson Cave is in Hollywood, or near Hollywood. And it's been in a lot of films. Like, just look up Bronson Cave sometime and you'll probably find somewhere a list of all the various films that have used it. Especially, like, in the 60s with science fiction and monster movies and stuff like that. It got used a lot. I think it's used a lot less now. Probably just cheaper to CG the entire thing and do it the lazy way than it is to actually go out on set and use practical effects, which will look better in the long run, and some Hollywood directors get that and some just want to do it as cheaply as possible. Christopher Nolan is an example of a Hollywood director that gets it. But yeah, I think this is based on Bronson Cave, and whenever I get to the boss, I'll talk about that and why that is, because one of the films... Well, we'll get to the boss and we'll talk about that. For the longest time, Manos Hands of Fate was only available on a very, very limited VHS pressing, and the VHS copy is just terrible looking. Like, even worse, significantly worse than the original film, and the original film does not look good. And the original film was thought to be lost until much more recently, when someone found a copy of it and they decided to remaster it, and they held a Kickstarter to get money to remaster and like color correct and all that kind of thing. They put it on Blu-ray, and the Blu-ray edition, which comes with some special features like a commentary and a making of and a how we did the restoration and stuff like that, is absolutely gorgeous. Okay, here's the boss. You are a human, not a Roman. Roman must kill the human. This character is, I think, is from a movie called Robot Monster, and at least part of that does. Watch where you're standing here, because it's easy to get hit by the bubbles. And if you jump in the wrong place, you will get hit by the spinning spike things and die like that. But I think that part of that film was filmed in Bronson Cave. I have not seen it, but I know there was a Mystery Science Theater episode from it, and I believe that Linkara uses a clip from this as a running gag in his movies, in his show, where I believe it was they said there is logic in what he says. I believe that's from this film, but I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, this is what makes me think. I believe Bronson Cave was using that, and that's what makes me think that this level is based on Bronson Cave. Is this where I die, or is this where I win? I don't remember. I think this is where I die again. Yep. Died again. But check out give it a look, and look how much, like, look it up on, just type in Manos Hands of Fate Blu-ray on YouTube, and you'll find videos of comparing the original to the VHS to the remastered version, and just how much more gorgeous they look, and how much more detail there is in every shot, and how they got rid of most of the film grain, and it just looks amazing. And they did an amazing job with that. And after this, there'll be one more episode of this. I think this is where I beat it. This human is too strong for Roman. You may pass, human. We didn't even kill him. He just, like, gave up. And there we have it. We've reached stage 7. Thank you, everybody, for... My dog's dead, murdered, and somebody's responsible. Thank you, everybody, for watching this episode of Let's Play Manos Hands of Fate. Please like, comment, and subscribe down below. It will be greatly appreciated. We'll talk to you guys next time. Thanks, everybody, and goodbye.